What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Flamesword, and it has been a minute, but this is the first video of 2022. Now today, I'm going to be doing a AMA, Ask Me Anything. I did tweet this out in the beginning of January. I've just been letting it compile up a bunch of different replies, so I have questions to answer. And that is what we are going to get into today for the first video of 2022. After this, I will start coming out with some videos talking more about status quo, even though I will talk about status quo today, because there are many questions that, involve status quo that I have seen in the replies so far. But after this video, there will definitely be more videos and a consistent schedule once again, like we had at the end of November, and December of 2021. We're talking about streams going back to its, normal routine.
I know Joe just wanted to test on a puzzle.
Oh, We're figuring out a routine for it so I could be super consistent. YouTube videos basically daily. TikTok videos for the next 30 days I'll be dropping. My TikTok, by the way, is Flamesword. Unfortunately, Flamesword is taken. I've been trying to get it, but the person doesn't want to respond back. No! And obviously for the team, a bunch of different scrims, right? Because practice is what we need. The next event, since we did not qualify for Anaheim, will be February 20th, which is either the 6th or the 7th HCS Open, because then 2 to 4 weeks after that first Open, or the next Open that's coming up after Anaheim, there will be an Open Championship online. So, obviously want to gain as many points as possible and put ourselves in the best possible seed for that tournament to make a run. And after that, shortly, if I'm not mistaken, towards the end of March, I believe we have our next major, which would be HCS Kansas, which I believe is a major, which means EU, New Zealand, Australia, Mexico, all those different regions will be participating as well. Enough of all the HCS talk, let's jump right into these questions while I kind of fit myself ready back on the supplement lifestyle as I return to the gym. Actually, just went for the first time in 2022 yesterday, January 31st. So, had a busy month with stuff with status quo, but now we're back and here we go. So the first question is going out to the homie Alonzo Cantu. Used to be a coach for status quo. What are your favorite gaming memories? What is the end goal for team status quo? Now, I would say favorite gaming memories have to involve the Halo 3 days for me. The entire process of teaming with Ace, Enable, Assault, and doing the things that we did early on in the Halo scene, getting sponsored by Red Bull, going to cool events because of Red Bull, and just really, besides my own family, really finally finding that group of people that made me feel at home, that felt like brothers, even though I've never had, blood relative brothers. And that entire era in my life, I have to say, is basically what involves the best gaming memories, because after that, it set me up for everything, right? I joined Optic Gaming. I got to do a bunch of cool things with them. So I always bring it back to that Halo 3 roster with Assault, Ace, Enable, and myself. We had Alonzo, who asked the question at one point, coaches as well, but with a different roster. We had another coach called Tyler Hoy, who is my boy. I still keep up with him today. He's got kids now. And those years are really what, just solidified it for me. And then what is the end goal for team status quo? Is to turn it into the biggest esports org that I possibly can. I want to get into different games. Year one is definitely about Halo and our Halo content creator, Real Life Spartan, but moving forward, for sure, would love to get into Rocket League. I love Apex Legends, so if there was ever a possibility, definitely would want to do that. But the most important thing is building a legacy, building a foundation, so when people do join, right, just the same opportunity that I had when I joined Optic Gaming, I want people to have that opportunity so they could learn how to develop themselves into something even more, right? Even more than just a player. And where it goes from that for them. But that is the ultimate goal that I want. I want to build this legacy that turns into a well-oiled machine that anyone who joins, it helps propel their career, their life in some sort of way. And that is the best that I could explain that. We have Boom Digital, my dude. Throughout your career, your feedback was invaluable to development of some games, for example, Titanfall, Destiny 1. What games did you see in development that with your input drastically changed throughout development? Now, I never really had any feedback on development of any games. For example, Titanfall, Battlefield, and Halo 4 in the Halo MCC. I wrote the strategy guides for them because I was partnered up with Prima Games, and it was myself, Strong Side, Alumni Warrior, Walshy, Native was in there at one point. But I wouldn't say it was like real feedback. It was more feedback of what we were experiencing. As pros, for sure, they were like, you know, what would you like to see or whatnot, what don't you like? But I think it was more just conversations with the devs at the time when we were writing the strategy guides. I don't really think they were like fully taking into consideration what we were saying because we were there to write a strategy guide. We weren't there to help development. So I don't think any game actually took anything that I have ever said into consideration for development for their game. So I don't know if that was a confusion there, Boom Digital, my homie KC, but I hope that answered your question. J Rock asks, favorite teammates from all time and favorite past event. Favorite teammates, they got to be in that crew, right? Ace, Assault, and Naval. I think Assault by far one of my most favorite teammates, one of the most stand-up guys. Probably the one that I communicate with the most, besides like obviously everything that just happened with Naval being on the roster leading into Anaheim to try to qualify and just try to do a one-pop event, which would have been amazing. But yeah, I'd say one of those 3 dudes for sure. And favorite past event, I always say this, literally 2010 Nationals, we placed second, which then literally gave us the clout, I guess, in a sense, to get picked up by Red Bull and then literally win our next event. That period forever always be my favorite past event because the second place ended up leading into a big sponsorship of Red Bull, which then also led into getting our first championship right after being sponsored by Red Bull in Halo Reach at its first event. So absolutely loved it. We have a Sneaky Puma. What's the next big move for SQ to put you on the map as a big deal organization? I think a championship would definitely help. I think as long as we continue creating content, Real Life Spartan's doing a great job. I'm gonna start adding in my mix, obviously. I think if we make a splash with content, I think it will help us propel moving forward because then people will be like, oh wow, they're not just an esports org for esports, you know, they're not just competition. They are more than competition. And like I said earlier, right, the biggest thing with Team Status Quo that I want to accomplish is building this legacy, this well-oiled machine that when someone joins, they can do more than just compete in the game that they're competing, that they're amazing at, you know what I mean? I want them to be able to be like, oh, you know, like I'm not really into content, but I wouldn't mind like talking about this here and there for videos, and if people want to listen, people want to listen, right? Because I think that's the biggest thing that we always get into our heads is like, I don't want to do this video because I don't think anyone's gonna like it. But you got to think about how many people in the world there are. So like even if it's 5 people who come across your video, 10 people who come across it, 50, 100, one person, right? Like that one person may be very different than you or super similar, that if you are already, you know, kind of talking to yourself being like, someone might not like this, but you like it. So, I mean, if you like it, there has to be an equal person to yourself that kind of likes the things that you like, no matter what. There's just no way, right? Like in the theory that we're always saying, you know, some people are cut from the same cloth, right? You got to think about how big is that cloth. So there's no way the things that you like, no one in the world isn't going to want to listen. You know what I mean? So it's just about doing it one day at a time. And then it's a simple thing, right? How far would you be a year from today if you started whatever you love today? We got my homie Fallout, aka John. John asks, how'd you come to form the new SQ roster and what does Frag Out bring to the team? Why were you so confident his skill would transfer to Halo? What's up, John, my man? So the SQ roster this is definitely probably one of the most interesting stories. So I initially was talking to a couple different orgs to start a team, and it was looking like I was going to be a captain for some said org. A lot of them are, you've seen them already in the scene, and create a team. And it really started with Shelly Nikisko, if you guys all remember from HCS. I haven't seen what he's done so far, but this is basically how the team came to be. It was me, him, we were looking for 2. The thought of like hitting up a Naval to see if he would come back for like one event, which, you know, I mean, fast forward, he did actually come back to play with us in the online tournaments for the Anaheim qualifier and whatnot. But it was myself, Nikoski, and I'm pretty sure that was it. And then we kept discussing like 2 other people, and then I think we got into a mix. And then who was it? It was actually me, Nikoski, maybe Blaze and Reliable was in my head what was going to be the team, and it was a team that I was really looking forward to. Fast forward, unfortunately, Nikoski's passport expired 2 years ago and he didn't check it. So October 27th or 28th, I believe he was trying to get onto a plane before Canada closed off their borders unless you were vaccinated, because of everything that happened, you know, obviously during the winter season. And so he gets to the airport, can't show up to the event, or can't show up, or can't fly obviously because his passport's expired. And now I'm in a scramble, right? Because now it's like, there were some hiccups during that whole time with me, Nikisco, Blaze, and Alan, of, you know, people not, one person wanting to team with maybe someone else and whatnot, and then personal shit in the background that I was starting to think about, you know, was like something important I had to think about from an organization standpoint, where I literally had to make sure that everything was okay. And I think everything was essentially okay. And I just think that certain people caused drama that kind of got in my head that I didn't have to listen to. But like, right, starting a new org, coming from a new position, I started almost thinking anally, where I was like, I don't know if this is good or bad. I don't know if this is good or bad. Is this a good start for SQ? I got to make sure, right? Because it's not just me competing. It's an org that's going to take over, you know, multiple people's careers when they join. So it's like, it's not just me. So ended up working with Blaze, who was teaming with Reliable, Burton, and Piles. And I believe Reliable said that he wasn't going to be able to play as much. And so Burton said, all right, we're going to look for another one. But then Piles wanted Reliable on the team. They kind of got into their own personal drama, which has been resolved from my understanding, and then ended up becoming Burton, Blaze, myself. And then we started trying a few people. We tried Persecute. I thought he was really good. I still think he's a really good player. And then we tried Frag Out, and we ended up going with Frag Out because between him and Persecute, we felt Frag Out was communicating more than Persecute, and communication is just super important when playing Halo, no question about it. I knew his skill would cross over, right? It's a shooter game, so I mean, as long as you could shoot, you could shoot. But I think the most important thing about Halo is understanding that there is this Halo intuition that you have to have, right? There's many moments that you might get into the thought process that, oh, this is a bad play, like I shouldn't do this. But it comes from a individual standpoint versus a team standpoint. As in, like, if you think of everything as an assembly line, right? And four of you create an assembly line, right? The transfer zone, the meat cutting zone, the cleanup zone, the package zone, right? Like if you were to think of something like an assembly line, if one of those hiccups at one point, it messes up the entire line, right? Like if the cutting machine got stuck and didn't cut, everything else after that just gets screwed over. If the person didn't deliver the meat to go through the entire meat cutting assembly line, then the whole thing is ruined, right? Because it never gets started. I like to look at that as a thing in Halo where it becomes a Halo intuition, where you have to know what number you are in almost every situation when you're playing Halo to make sure you make the right play. And that is the thing that you have to develop, I feel, when you are playing Halo. And that was the biggest thing with Frag, was to obviously teach him that, since he came from, you know, Gears of War. And we found out, right, like in Gears of War, for everyone watching, this is how it was explained to me, but you spawn in one point, it's all strongholds basically, and you watch lanes. It's not really like teamwork, but it's like, all right, if you spawned up, you go watch this lane, because you know they're up on spawn, they only spawn in one spot, that funnels out into 3 different spots. So it's like, as long as you have 1, 1, 2 maybe, but the job, right, at the end of the day, is you get into the lane and you make sure you win your 1v1, if it's a 1v1. And that's a bit different in Halo, because you're not like watching lanes, you're being aware of spawns, but you're not like tunneled to stay in the left lane and only watch the left lane. You're not going in the middle just to watch the middle, and you're not going to the right just to watch the right. And that was the thing that we knew that we were going to need to develop with Frag. So his skill wise was never a question, man. I saw all of these clips of sniping and all that, so literally his skill was never a question to me, just because of competing against him in Rogue Company and seeing what he did there. I knew the man could shoot, so it was always about building that extra Halo knowledge. Bum bum bum, real life Spartan, any idea where my helmet is?
What? Who took my helmet?
MDama, or MD4Ma, says status quo merge wins soon, for sure. I definitely plan on getting all this stuff out. I believe our website should be complete, hopefully by the end of this week, by the latest, hopefully. And then once that is up and running, literally you guys will have everything. You have access to everything. We do have our jerseys up for sale though. If you guys do want to pick up those, right? Because this is literally year one, right? As we've known, right? We're seeing many other esports organizations, year one. The years after year one completely change almost in a sense. You start seeing jerseys change and all that stuff. So if you want that, you know, that founder jersey, that OG status quo jersey, definitely check it out. I will put the link in the description below. And then for the rest of the merch, MD Format, you just gotta wait, my man. This is a good question. V Dukemast, if you had to move away from the US and had to leave, what country would you choose to go and why? I think I would literally go to Portugal. I went to Portugal 2 years, right before COVID with my family because we are Portuguese, and it was just absolutely amazing. It was the second time I've ever gone, and being older now, it was something else, man. Like that age with my whole family, we're all grown up, so everyone could talk about everything. It's not like, oh, they're kids, don't say that, you know, be nice, wait till they fall asleep. Like things like that, like the fact that we could literally just talk about anything now that we're older, or us, the kids are older, was just amazing. And Portugal was just absolutely fabulous. The food, incredible. Europe to me is just an amazing place because it's so much about family almost. Like we go to Portugal, I mean, dinner time is the same everywhere, right? Like restaurants will be open for breakfast and then we'll close down for lunch to open up for dinner only. And then dinner closes at a specific time. And it looks like all family-owned businesses everywhere, at least where I was. And so it was mama and pop shop hours, you know what I mean? So it was super cool. It was super laid back. Everyone seemed to help one another if help was needed. I'm not talking about my family, but like looking out into the population, into the communities as we drove by or were in certain towns, you would just see everyone was, you know, one in a sense, which I freaking absolutely love. Another reason why for sure is the wine, man. Portugal does wine right. We have Dylan Smiley. How do you stay so successful and striving for more when there is basically someone new every day coming in the esports gaming world and trying to keep that content competitive edge? By the way, it's always nice to see new people thrive. Much love, Mike. So I think success is really a measurement of people on people, right? Like I could say I am successful on my own, but it's really comes down to my peers, right? For them to rate if I'm successful or not, as in how you're talking right now, Dylan, right? How do you stay so successful? So to you, everything I do is successful, or I'm a successful person because of the things you've seen I've done. And so to your question, I would say I'm not looking for success, but forgot what it was. Such a good quote that I held on to for such a long time, and I can't believe I can't remember right now. But it was like, success is like what people around you say you are, you know what I mean? Like you don't just say yourself you're successful, you know what I mean? People say you're successful, right? When they talk about you, they're like, oh my God, Hex, yeah, he used to live in El Horro. Look at him now, man. Guy's super successful, started an esports organization and so on and so forth, right? I'm so mad I can't remember the word. I don't know if I have a picture of it. Maybe I do. I do not have that quote in here. That sucks. But it was like, I don't know if it was admiration or something like that or something, but it was basically saying like being successful is cool, but I want to, I don't even know what the word is, but I want to accomplish things, right? Like, and if they're successful or not, whatever, right? Because like they might still end up working, might not be successful on people's terms, but like what it ends up doing might still be beneficial, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's the biggest thing for me, Dylan, where I am literally always looking, I could almost even say it this way, I look at myself as an observer, and so as an observer, literally what I am always trying to do is facilitate things for other people, because I feel personally I've already done so many things in my own life that it's not about me anymore. Like you say, you know, I love seeing new people thrive, and that's the ultimate goal with Status Quo, is that we're bringing new faces that most of you have never seen on the internet and trying to create them into their own influencer, you know? So for me, it's one, Halo. I just have this hungry passion to compete. I still think I have it. I'm going to definitely give it another year or two of competition before, you know, the real big boy pants have to come on and I have to, you know, deal with all the operations of Status Quo on a daily basis, more than I'm already doing right now. So that, I think, is what drives me, Dylan, is literally my Halo passion, my objective of wanting to see other people succeed, and the fact that, you know, I love competition. So I hope that answers your question, Dylan. It was a good one, man. It had my brain going, so I appreciate it. Ooh! Ooh, I actually like this question. Bullseye, Halo 2 Bullseye. Why do you have an ego in game but are so humble outside game? We would be enemies in Halo. I hate you and love you, and I'm tweeting for clout. Okay, so why do I have an ego in game? I think you have to have an ego, some sort of ego when you are competing, and you will see it in all types of competition, right? Basketball, football, hockey, baseball, gaming, it doesn't matter. And what it is pretty much the individual's confidence, right? Like, if I'm not confident in my own gameplay, my own shot and all that, then I'm already losing before I start playing. And so in game, right, my one objective as a player is to dominate the other team, is to win the game, right? And so if I see someone doing something wrong, if we're talking about like matchmaking, and I'll be like what, Flame, why would you say that? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I want to beat the other team. And so this is the way I'm sharing the information in the small time window that we have, because I can't sit down during the match to talk for 30 minutes and be like, all right guys, what do we want to accomplish during this game? Because it's matchmaking, you know what I mean? And so no matter what, literally always trying to dominate the other team. And then even outside of matchmaking, right? In scrims, in tournaments, the objective is to win, you know? Definitely want to see progression first, want to make sure that, you know, the team continues improving, right? Like, winning doesn't just happen overnight, but that is where that ego for most players, in-game athletes, come from, because they are trying to dominate. They're trying to impose their force onto the competition. And then why am I so humble outside of the game? It's a little easy. I come from a poor family. Said this so many times, from Portugal. My dad came over, got a job, got money, sent money over to the next person, got his 6 sisters and 1 brother over. Same thing with my mom, who had 1 sister, 1 brother. They worked, they got the whole family over here, the aunts, the uncles, the whole 9 yards, you name it, you know it. And literally, that's why I'm humbled outside of the game, right? Like, the game finally allowed me to find, you know, where I could throw my competitive energy towards, and then everything else outside of life is simple to me, you know what I mean? Family, making sure you just get food or money for food to put on your table, have water, have clothes, and you're pretty good, you know what I mean? Like, those are the essentials I think you need to survive. And so for me, coming from a poor working class family, it was really easy to be humble. And as I told you guys, I'm an observer, right? And so I think that's another reason why I'm so humble outside of the game or in person, is because I love to observe things. I literally love to observe things, as in, if I go to an event and I see people going up to Halo pros or people, or I just see groups hanging out and stuff like that, I love seeing the interactions, right? Like, which people are hanging out with which people, how it came all together, which is mostly gaming, which is amazing. And because of that, I feel, obviously at 32 years young, I've seen so much already in life that it's like, I know really what's important, or in my opinion, I know what's really important in my life. So it's super easy to be humble outside of the game. But bet your ass, man, in game, I'm coming for that. I am coming for your throat. I am there to win. I am there to impose my force. Because I also don't want to make this a super long video, as in like where you're here for 30 minutes. Ooh, I like this one. This is a good one. Nostri tweets, asks, what are the challenges, decisions, and tasks you do as an owner of the org? So challenges is obviously creating a foundation and actually bringing it to life and making sure it is what we have down on paper in reality. And what I mean by that is, you know, what are the building blocks of status quo, right? One of them to me is definitely going to be family, right? Even with all these current team changes that have been happening, which ultimately I didn't want to do any of them, to be honest. My whole goal, and I'll explain this actually in the next status quo video that I do, but challenges, right? Keeping an eye on myself to know, all right, am I really holding the team back? Or are we just still not all on the same page and the assembly line isn't working the way that it should be working? Those are in-game decisions, right? Or team decisions. The other one is also making sure, as the owner, right, I never put that weird pressure of like, dude, if you don't perform right, like we're kicking you off or anything like that. Like, making sure that I still am a player as equal as my teammates who are alongside of me. Decisions and more challenges, I would say, are just things that I've never done before, like building a sponsored pitch deck, understanding, you know, which way to sell our team to sponsors so they can hop on board. We make money, that the money continues playing the players. we make money, we can move into, you know, future esports, clean up our content, get another editor so we have even more content popping out. These are the biggest things I think in my opinion, because my partner Andrew really handles all the business conversations of talking and negotiating all that. So like, thankfully I don't have to deal with that, because that would get me stressed out. I will not lie to you. And then just all content. I am the creative director of the org, founder of the org, captain of the team, of the Halo team, and obviously player of the team. So I have a lot on my plate, but I'm excited for it, and definitely want to see how far we could, you know, sail the ship. Stingo TV asks, would you rather be in real life Saw or Final Destination situation? Final Destination situation for sure. Why? Because Saw is just a crazy lunatic, right? At least in Final Destination, you know who your enemy is. It's death, you know what I mean? You could literally face death in the face almost, in a sense. Which is, you know, I'm thinking more as a gamer here, right? Death is the final boss in a sense. So man, you know, you want to take out the final boss. So I would say a Final Destination situation for sure. And I think the final question we will be taking today will go to my man, Marco Manicki. What do you think Halo needs to do to keep the momentum going and continue to get more eyes on it from content and creators and HCS support? One, I definitely think the game needs the dev team to be more involved, right? I understand the game came out in December and then everyone had vacation for Christmas and whatnot, but we just need more, right? Especially in the sense that over the past 2 years, maybe 3 years, since 2019 with COVID, most Microsoft employees, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm pretty sure it's public, but Microsoft announced that everyone would be able to work from home. So I mean, you work for any sort of company that was underneath the umbrella of Microsoft, I'm pretty sure it fell underneath that. So for like 343, not saying that, you know, working from home is like you're not working, you know what I mean? But like the fact that you get to be home and still do all other things while you're home, I think already gives you some sort of freedom that we would love to see a little bit more dev response, as in none of this radio silence that we're not hearing what's happening. No one's informing us, you know, will there be mangler changes? Will there be heat wave changes? Will there be VR changes? Will there be pistol changes? Will there be any, you know, nerfs or buffs? And so I know some of those weapons are the ones that people are talking about, but I only said them because those are the ones people have talked about. But I mean everything, right? Like it could be an either buff or nerf, you know what I mean? Weapons don't spawn as much on maps, whatever it may be, but I feel the game as a whole needs more dev attention, and someone from the community should realistically be involved more daily in talking with people, in my opinion. Now, for the HCS, I think the HCS is doing a great job. I think they have a great roadmap. I think the roadmap has been doing well, right? The Anaheim qualifier just ended. Viewership for competitive Halo is amazing. I'm seeing people's channels grow on the daily, especially since the start of November. I mean, people have turned their streams into, you know, full-time streams and are making a living off of it now. So I'm super excited where the esports side of Halo is going, because you do see all that love, right? You have Optic in the esports scene, so when they're in a tournament, that green wall is watching them. You have FaZe in there, you know? FaZe started just like out the game with the Call of Duty scene, FPS shooter console, and Halo was right there with them, so you know they had love for Halo. Their people are going to be watching the game. And now you have other people too, right? You got Fnatic, you got Navi, you got Cloud9 who's winning tournaments. You know, people are going to want to watch them continue winning tournaments or continue supporting them from Cloud9, as in like, yo, how many tournaments can they win in a row? You know what I mean? This is a little dynasty we're seeing here. So again, the esports scene is thriving. I'm absolutely loving it. I do want to know how to get, you know, the status quo skins in the game though, and all that stuff. I believe that was supposed to come out in February, so hopefully we see it at some point in this month, but that is definitely one of the biggest goals of 2022, is getting those status quo team skins in the game. So if you're watching this video, go over to Twitter, tag Team Status Quo, Halo, HCS, and let them know. When are we getting these SQ skins in the game, baby? But that is going to do it for today. I have to set up my supplements, like I said, Monday through Sunday. We got multivitamin, fish oil. What else we got? Probiotic to keep the stomach happy. Vitamin D. We have some endocrine health right here, some supplements that will help reset my thyroids, and then we got stuff for sleeping. So basically, this sucker, Serenity PM, has this sucker in it. Faso crazy word that I'm gonna butcher, so I'm not gonna say it, but I think it's phosphatidylglycerine and then 5-HTP, but those are all in this one, which is a dose of these two with a couple other things that anytime I've ever taken this, holy smokes do I pass out. But yeah, that's going to do it. I hope I answered questions that you all were curious about. You know, we talked about a little bit of status quo and its future. We talked about how the status quo Halo roster came to be. We talked about how I found new talent in Frag Out, and we saw him, you know, obviously break out at Raleigh. You know, how I keep pushing myself forward and how I stay hungry. And obviously, me setting back up my supplements, which I will be doing here after this video. But I do hope you all enjoyed. If you did, definitely drop that thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. I don't know what you're doing here if you haven't done it already. Just move your mouse. Click, click. It don't cost you nothing but a little bit, maybe a little second. That's it. And now I got wrinkles. My girlfriend gonna make fun of me. But I hope you all have a good one as always. This is your boy Flamesword. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.